Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Before we get started, make sure you check out homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com to see our traveling schedule for this year. We will be delighted to have you all join us at some of our stops. Also, check out Classical Conversations, one of our proud sponsors, and Basecamp Ed, new proud sponsor. They have a cool app that allows you to seek homeschool community. It's really dope. So check them out also. They're on our website. So yes. Oh, let's get going. Journey, introduce yourself.
Hello. So I'm a young adult homeschool alumni, and I'm here to discuss my experiences homeschooling through teen years. I was homeschooled grades 1 through 12, so all the way, and what I did specifically in high school and how I hosted drama programs for my homeschool group and then turned them into productions. And now I have those scripts available for other groups to use.
Nice. I love that. So homeschool first through 12. So you went to kindergarten.
Oh, whoops. No, I guess I've homeschooled the whole way. And
Oh, okay.
being so steeped in that, I think sometimes I forget, oh, yeah, there is like things below that. Yep,
All
the
right.
whole way.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yes, let's dive right in. So we have a homeschool alumni with us, and I love it. I love speaking with the aftermath. So how was it?
Oh, my goodness. I loved it. I tell everyone always do it. Do it if it's possible in any way, you should. Um, I had a marvelous experience. Not to like, I don't want to sugarcoat it because obviously growing up has its pains. I think anywhere you go. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I loved the experience of homeschooling and
Nice.
we were always diving into all sorts of projects, and I think that that was one of the reasons that I loved it so much is just the freedom to dive into projects.
Nice. How are you an only child? Other siblings?
Oh, yeah, actually I have a brother.
Okay.
And honestly, so I'm the older sibling. We're 4 years apart. We're best friends. We
Oh,
still are. And I think that was really great because 4 years apart, you don't meet a lot of siblings who are 4 years apart and are like best friends. But we got to
right.
spend so much time together because we weren't always like in age silos, and that was fantastic. I sort of was always leading the way with the project, so he kind of got folded in, but he didn't mind at all. It was really fun for both of us.
Nice. So what was your day-to-day like? What was the schedule looking like?
Ooh, okay. So my family, we're not morning people, and so homeschool was great for us. Um, so we got to wake up when we wanted to, and then we would usually start it out with we'd always like cook in the kitchen together. Baking was a really important part of like our family day-to-day life. It was my mom, my brother, and I. We'd always bake something, and then we'd jump right into kind of our core classes. Um, but of course, as you and I'm sure your audience knows, when you're homeschooling, you don't have to wait in all the lines. And so you can cut out so much and it's much more efficient. So I think we did about 3 or 4 hours after breakfast in the morning, afternoon of like our core classes. That's like mathematics, spelling, biology. Um, that sort of like really core. And then we'd kind of dive into history and projects and art in the afternoon or gardening. We did a lot of gardening as well. So
Nice.
that was,
Okay.
and it changed seasonally too.
Of course. And I was gonna say I know it looked different from, from the beginning to the end, definitely. Did you grow to be more independent once high school or even middle school came about?
Yes. So my mom always says that I was kind of always an independent child. So um, we yes. My mom was more of our facilitator for learning.
Okay.
I never really thought of her as our teacher. She facilitated things. We'd always have like kind of, I didn't say like quarterly throughout the year check-ins of what we wanted to dive into next. And then we'd make a plan and we'd go to like the public library. And she was really just kind of picking out those books and finding like what fit with our interests at the time and kind of building a curriculum based on that. It did definitely become more independent as I grew up. I feel like by time I was in middle school, I had like an online math program that I was kind of doing on my own. Um, and then would just sort of check in with my mom or my dad just to see what was if I was meeting milestones or if I was really struggling with something, we'd sit down and we'd just kind of work through problems together. We did a lot of like math just at the dining room table, all four of us. And that was really great too, because then my brother was like, oh, looking at math that was 4 years ahead of him. And we all got to practice things together.
Nice.
But yeah, definitely independence grew throughout that.
Nice. Were y'all part of a co-op?
Yes, we were. We found a lot of connections through, we had a Facebook group, and the Facebook group was actually where I built my drama program.
Mm,
There was, I think, over 1,000 members, but it was just spanned throughout our region, and I'm located in northern Michigan, and that's where I grew up. So it, kind of like 100-mile radius almost. Um, and all the people on the group were within that. So there were things going on, and you see them like, oh, do we want to drive a few hours for this? Or there's, a few things like, okay, here, there's something going on in our town. And that was great just to be a part of that.
nice. Okay. How often did you all meet, or was it? It wasn't necessarily a official co-op. It was just you all going to different meetups that were
Yeah,
broadcast in the group.
I wouldn't call it an official co-op,
Okay.
but there were things going on almost every day, depending on like what you wanted to do. I feel like my family sort of we chose to go out maybe 2 to 3 times a week and meet up with different people from that like Facebook group and what people were doing. But any more than that, we felt like we couldn't really get all our school in just because there were so many activities.
Gotcha. So, okay, do you what? Okay, how am I saying this? Why did your parents choose to homeschool?
Ooh, that's okay. I feel like we're a little bit unique in this.
Okay.
My dad worked a construction job. He still works construction. And like I said, we're based in northern Michigan. So, um, my parents were kind of just like looking at like the logistics of trying to raise my brother and I ha in a way that we actually knew like our father. Because
Uh,
when he worked construction, he would work 70-hour weeks in the summer. And it was just go, 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 go. And then when winter rolled around, he'd actually get laid off. And so he'd have like 3 to 4 months, depending on how long the winter was, at home. And my parents kind of thought maybe we can build this in and like we can all hang out together. And just looking at traditional school schedule, they realized my brother and I, we would never really get to see our dad because we'd be on break in summer and he would not be home. And then we'd be busy in the winter when he was home. So that's what the first, I feel like that was the reason. And then after the first 2 years, kind of everyone was like, oh, we can't go back. Like this is just too good. But we did have like yearly check-ins with both my brother and I. And at one point, I did tour a high school just to see if I wanted to do it. And then I was like, oh no, this is, I think once you like are pretty steeped in it, and you really grow to love it, it's hard to think about plugging into a system.
right. I was gonna say, how did the tour go? Why did you say nah, never mind?
Well, let's see. It was kind of a while ago, but yeah, my dad took me and we went into a classroom and I just was kind of struck with how rigid everything was. I was not ready for like I guess how it pumps in so many kids, the absolute authority of the instructors, the lack of choice about what you're studying, and just that feeling of being really locked in. And my parents really explained to me, they were like, okay, if you want to go for high school, you can, but you have to finish it out. Like this is, if you're going to make this commitment, you have to start and keep going. Um,
Mm.
and I I really thought about it and I was like, I I like what I have going. And the reason I was touring the high school was because I was interested in actually their theater program. And I was
Mm.
interested in maybe having more social connections. But the building was just so hard and cold, and it was just so different than what I was used to that I decided to stay homeschooled. And I'm really, really grateful for that choice.
Yes. Okay. So first, the uniqueness of why you all started homeschooling. That is my first time hearing that. That is based upon your dad's schedule. And I could just think because I was wondering first, what do y'all do in Michigan in the winter time? Because ill. It's really cold there.
Uh, yeah, it's
So
very, very cold.
yes.
A lot
So
of books. We read a lot of books.
okay. Okay. That's what I'm just like, okay, but it makes sense as far as your dad getting laid off in the winter because I can assume that it was a lot of snow during that time.
Yeah.
So he can't really do any outdoor working then.
Hmm.
But to say that you all adjusted your schedule or thought on that level of, hey, we want our dad to be a part of this, like our life, like we want to see him. And so let's try this out. And it going so well. And the family connection being as it is, that y'all continue to do it throughout. So
Yeah,
I love that.
that was fantastic. And like I said, yeah, it is unique. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that way either. Um,
Yeah, that is cool. So your brother's still homeschooling.
no, my brother graduated. So my brother is again, we're 4 years apart, but when I started college, um, I took a gap year because I was running my drama program. So I took a gap year to continue that out. And then I started college and I got about a year into college. And my brother was like in that late, high school period. And my parents were looking at what I was doing in college and what my brother was doing at home. And they were like, something doesn't compute here. I think we might as well just like enroll Noah is my brother's name in a few college courses because if he's going to be doing this at home, he's not getting the credit for it anyway. And he's definitely, I mean, he's kind of above what I was doing in like basic beginning college anyway.
Mm,
So he started working on his associate's degree when he was 17.
nice.
So he he graduated. I think he got his associates just a month ago. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so
Okay.
he's just finished that up.
Okay, cool. I mean, you look like you're fresh, like a fresh 18, like really. So I didn't know how far, like, I didn't know. I knew you had graduated, of course, high school at least,
No,
but I
I
didn't
guess
know. Yeah, like you look like a fresh 18, honey. So that's a good
okay.
thing.
Well, to clarify, I'm 24.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh my God, 24. Okay, no, yeah, no, I didn't put you there. Okay, so yes, brother is out of high school.
yeah, thank you. That's it's always
Yes.
nice to know.
Yes, of course, of course. All right. So, I mean, I guess like one of the major questions that would be asked is, would you homeschool your kids?
Yes, 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 100 times over. That is, in a weird way, it's actually one of the reasons why. So I went to college, got a BA in graphic design, got a job at a firm, was working at the firm, and was actually really horrified to see so many mothers, just being so okay with letting a system like govern what their kids are learning. Um, and I was just really thinking about my career and I realized, oh no, I need to change like my career path to do something that like
Mm,
when I'm ready to have kids, I want to be able to be working from home and I want to be able to like fold that into my life. Um, and I wanted to like really get ahead of it in this world because I realized that homeschooling is so, so, so important to me. So, um,
mm,
yeah, just planning ahead and being like, okay, in the next I want to build a company and maybe in the next 5 years and just make sure that I'm in a place that when I have kids, I can be home with them because that is just so important to me. And I would love to make it a possibility for them. Um, of course, I wouldn't force them if they really, really, really wanted to go to school, but I've been really excited to see some of the newer programs that have been popping up, especially these like 2 day a week co-ops. where it gives that like feeling of independence and the kids get to go and like they even get to like pack a lunch and have a backpack and like do the like cute
Right.
kid things. So I'm really curious to see when I get to that point, like where we are. So many people are coming to homeschool, so I can't wait to see like what everyone brings to that and like the opportunities that are available.
Indeed. Because when you started, well, when your mother started homeschooling you, it was what, 2000?
Hmm.
Like,
Um,
so,
I guess we like officially started in 2005. Um,
okay.
it was very radical. We got a lot of weird looks at the time. Even though I feel like people from the 90s had it way worse and but it was still pretty uncommon at that
Yes.
moment.
But to think of the growth like that you all were I mean, a part of, because
Yeah.
you started one way with the lack of resources, so to speak, because I speak to a lot of veteran homeschoolers who speak about like, oh, if we had this, like, this stuff when we were homeschooling, like, oh my gosh. So I know there was a lack of resources at that time. Then to go and transition to this time period of a plethora of resources that are being developed daily
It's
for
so
homeschool.
cool.
Yeah,
It's just so
right.
exciting and
It
like
is.
and kind of validating as well because like to be doing that even like at 8 years old and kind of get like the feeling of like I think we're doing something that other people aren't doing and then just to look back and be like oh wow like so many people are drawn to this. I guess we were just like it was just the beginning and I feel like maybe we're still just getting started. I'm so
Yes.
excited. And I
Yes.
noticed that I actually babysat a lot of kids when I was in high school, and it was really cool for me to see all the opportunities that these like little kids had. And I was like, wow, I didn't have those experiences like available to me when I was their age. And just like I was excited then about, well, when I have kids, like what kind of opportunities are they going to have? Because this is definitely catching a hold in our society.
Right. Yes. And I mean, it's because you talk on the level of advocate for homeschooling in general. Some of the words and some of the things that you've highlighted already is just like, okay, yeah, no, she's really like pro homeschool. Okay.
I am, yeah.
Like, yes. How did we get here? Like, why is your passion so heavy for homeschooling?
Oh, actually, I love this question because, to be honest, I did really question it a lot when I was in high school. Um,
Mm.
and I think that's probably common. And like I kind of already hinted at when I was even 8, 9, people gave us like weird looks when we went to the park at off hours, and you get people like kind of like looking at us and being like, I don't think you're doing like, your life right. Like really, like don't come on. So I did get like a lot of kind of flack from people I didn't know and people who really should have kept their mouths shut. But um it did make me question quite a bit about like, maybe is this like, are we doing something wrong here?
Mm.
And I think that it was actually really, really helpful for me to then attend college. I started um, at our community college in my hometown, and then I transitioned to an online program. So I went to college for like 4 years at two different colleges and really got like a good taste of higher education, and that was college. And so I really can't compare it too much to like grade and high school, but it was so disappointing to me. And I think
Mm.
that seeing the system from the inside made me maybe more of a true advocate for just staying out of that as long as possible. I'm like grateful for what I learned in college. I appreciate the schools that I went to, but just going into my classes and the rigid structure. And I remember one of my English classes where I wanted to add all sorts of sources and I was writing this paper that I was really excited about. And my professor just had to tell me, like, no, you can't put that much work into this draft because, like, you just can't. And I didn't understand, like, why can't I go above and beyond? And it
Mm.
felt really like crushing to curiosity and to learning. And I thought, well, what would it have been like if I would have been like crushed in this way my whole life?
Mm.
That would have been awful. And I am, college, you're a young adult and I think you can handle it a little bit more. But I mean, going through kindergarten, grade school, like, and having people always tell you, like, stamp out that curiosity. We have to do it by the book and we have to do it this way. And even if you're excited about this project, no, you can't add extra
Mm,
parts in. It's just not allowed. Um, so that's when I really started looking back at my education and being like, wow, this is not just unique, but a unique blessing, and really being extra passionate about it.
yes. And I totally feel you on all that you said. Because I was gonna ask you, do you feel like you were challenged in homeschooling? Do you feel like you really were like, um, just challenged to be your higher self, to reach your higher self, in general, as far as the rigor goes? I know you say your brother was learning basically alongside you despite the 4-year difference. So I know he was challenged. Do you feel like you were challenged?
I do. So it was really fun because I guess um, I know a lot of parents come to homeschooling and they're like afraid, what if I don't have like all the tools? Um, and my my parents like weren't teachers, they weren't professors, but they came with a lot of curiosity for different subjects. So my mom, she was really passionate about biology, well, she still is, and mathematics, which was kind of awesome. I feel like a lot of people don't come to homeschool with like this passion for mathematics. And then my dad was super passionate about history. And so
Mm,
kind of we put like their curiosities and passions together, and um a lot of times they were learning right along with us. So like my dad would get history books that interested him, and then read them to us. And so that was a little bit challenging to follow along when I was like 8, right? But then he'd always stop and he'd explain it like, okay, did you get this part? And like, and some of it I definitely think went over our heads, but then we'd read them again. And it slowly sticks. And so, and with my mom in biology, like she had me looking at animal cells. Gosh, probably before I hit middle school, I could name all the parts of an animal cell just because
Oh,
that was like
wow.
her passion. And we really let like curiosity, like just be like this leader in our home. And I think that when you follow your curiosity, you're always challenged, but in a good way. It's like a stepping stone. Like you just go from one stone to another, and like before you know it, you're really diving into some complex subjects.
Yes, nice. I love that. I love that they brought their passions and was like, hey, y'all, despite the age, listen to
Right.
this. Fun fact. Fun fact. Nice. How was because parents are always concerned about the high school to college. Like, with homeschooling, a lot of parents tend to fade out towards the high school age because they worry about, their kids being able to get into college successfully. How was that process for you, the whole college? Because you did it, you went to
Yes.
multiple,
Okay.
so
So this is another reason why I think I'm like a serious advocate for keep homeschooling through high school. Because I actually, for me, when I graduated, almost all the kids that I'd started out with, homeschooling through middle school or grade school, had switched over to high school because their parents were afraid, oh no, what if we
mm,
can't, get our child up to um like up to snuff, or like what if we can't get where we want to go, especially getting ready for college. So I know that it's a really nerve-wracking experience for parents, but for me, it was all about those transcripts. So, like getting in like I think we kept track of my classes, all of my classes from like 14 to 18, right? Like that high school years. And some of them, I mean, we kind of just made up a little bit. Like, we used a little bit of creative, like, well, I mean, I was interested in, X. And so what did I do for my like physical activity? And then we'd put in like, oh, okay, well, like let's write about the nature programs that we were a part of. Okay, well, we went hiking. We go, my family still goes hiking all the time, but we would go hiking like, 3 times a week. And
oh,
so
nice.
there's no reason why that couldn't be considered like PE, right? So
Yes.
just building all of those into like those kind of little rigid cells where you have to plug in, okay, this was the class we took, this is how many credits it counted for. So building out those transcripts, and then I guess making it really super simple. Apply for a community college if you're open to that, because community colleges are a great stepping stone, just to get into. Like, they took my transcripts without really any problem. But I have done a lot of research, and I feel like a lot of colleges are actually looking for homeschool students as well.
Mhm.
So I don't think that would be an issue. Um, as a like as far as getting into a college. Um, I had a friend at the time, and my friend is dear to me. I don't mean to throw my friend under the bus. I'm sure they wouldn't mind, but who was writing a college essay to get into a more prestigious college at the time, and had me read the essay. And I was kind of appalled after reading it. I was like, are you kidding? You think you're going to get into a college? And like, I did a bunch of editing. I was like, no, you need to do this and this and this. Um, this isn't going to work. And that friend of mine was like, high school all the way, had been like not homeschooled at all. And so just the level of writing that people come out of public school, even if they do like all the things, um, I feel like they don't bring as much passion. And like, that's kind of mean, but like, you need to believe in your kid and believe that like maybe maybe you don't hit like everything in high school. You might not. Like, that's true. um but coming out with that like entrepreneur-ish, and I when I say entrepreneur, I don't mean like you have to start a company, but like just that out of the box thinking, that like creativity. um you've figured out how to do things differently, so you know how to do things differently. You're going to approach papers differently. You're going to approach just classes differently. I think that colleges are looking for that. Um, and so the getting in process is can be smooth, so long as you just like plug in your classes and the transcripts. And then like the actual transition, like personally from homeschooling to college classes, for me, I have to admit, like I was terrified, because I'd never like done a graded class. I'd never had like a number to compare myself to or anything like that.
Mm.
So that was a little bit frightening. I do remember like going into my first class and being like, all right, here I am. And then quickly realizing like there was nothing different about me and my classmates. We were all kind of at the same point. Uh, I actually felt like I was a little sharper than a lot of my
Mm.
classmates. Um, there was a moment where I was in an art class and we were trying to figure out, well, it's called a Fibonacci spiral, but the art instructor didn't tell us that. And he was like, oh, can you just like, observe this spiral and tell me what you notice? And the entire class was looking at it. And I was the one person in the class who could figure out like, oh, all it is a bunch of right angles. And then people were like, what? You just drop a 90-degree angle. Like that's what you do. And no one else in the class could figure that out. And I just thought like, oh, I think that was like it was a little moment in me. And be like, oh wait, maybe I've got this. Like I've got this. This is
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Um, yeah. And then my very first semester, I was actually taking um some Adobe certification courses. Um, so not only was I being graded for the first time, but I also was taking these like professional certification courses. And I passed with flying colors, and I was like, yes, I've got it. And I found out that there was actually only a 30% pass rate in my class. So,
Mm.
challenging stuff, and I seemed to handle it quite well. I was really eager to see how well I could do in college, and so then like my first semester, I got 4.0s in all my classes, and I was like, I wonder if I can continue this. Like, can I push this and like continue it? Um, and I did. I went through all of my entire BA program and didn't get anything less than a 4.0 for any of my
What?
classes.
Girl, you better go. That is wow. Okay. Look at
Um, And, oh
you.
wait, I have to mention though, my brother did the same thing. He was like, he couldn't be outdone by me, and he's like, okay, well, I need to do the same thing. So
Like I love it because you look at you setting the bar too. Like, hey,
I,
little
I did feel
brother.
it badly for him though. I was like, no, you don't need to do this. And he's like, no, I do.
Nice. So, parents, you heard it from Journey's mouth. Not only can you get into college, but you can excel to the point of 4.0 whole way through. You better go, girl. That is awesome. That's really amazing. Okay. Because my journey was not the same. Okay. I look at some of my transcripts and be like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? Was I there? Did I go to class? This is crazy. So that's amazing. The level of discipline apparently that you had grown into over that course, because I feel like I didn't get into like really being disciplined until I was like 35. Okay. We want to be honest. This is look, 2 kids in. This is when I it's like, oh, maybe I should get myself together. So once again, kudos to you, girl. I am impressed. Okay, know that. So because why, let me tell you, well, besides it just being amazing, like that's an amazing thing that you accomplished, but also you're an artist. Like we're not going to, ignore the fact that through the academics, you are an artist, because you are a creator of scripts, honey. Let's talk
Yes.
about it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this.
No, I know, yeah, I know.
Um, yes. Okay. I made some notes. Hold on. So I guess um there's so much to say. I'm gonna try and like speed through it, but feel free to
No,
ask
no, take your
questions.
time. You're fine.
Um, so throughout my high school experience, starting when I was 12, so I guess middle school too, but I didn't, high school. Um, I worked with my like homeschool group to put on 5 different theatrical productions.
Mm,
Um, and so every show we had full costumes and set that I designed and my family and I built and created.
mm,
Each show took us like about 6 to 8 weeks from beginning to end, not counting the writing process because that took like its own separate time, but like from like working with the group, we met once a week during those weeks for about 2 to 4 hours.
mm,
Um, and then we would put on the show. We'd put on like one show. It wasn't like a weekend of shows, so just one show. And we put it on, um, to begin with, it started in someone's barn. And then I would rent, um, a theater at the community college that I actually ended up going to, but they had like a really cute little theater that held about like 100 people. And it had a stage and everything, and it was just perfect. And that was like my go-to. I found that and it just was like, oh, I've got it, like gotta keep renting this. This is perfect. Um,
no.
so it got started because I really, really, really wanted to do a show. I'd been in a few other like after school programs, just like not through homeschool groups at all. But I was like, oh, I want to do one. I think that like my friends would want to do a show. I think that like my brother and his friends would want to do a show. I want to do a show. And I think I was begging to be part of a show or do like a show with our homeschool group for probably 4 years before my parents gave in and were like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And yes, like doing the math, I started begging when I was 8. That is true. So by the time my parents gave in, I was like 12, and
Oh,
we um we put on a show and like we just threw it out on a Yahoo group at the time because it was 2012 and people were still using Yahoo groups. It was a long time ago. Um, and we ended up with 12 kids, and some of them we knew and some of them we didn't. And we just had rehearsals in our basement. My family just opened up our home and we were like, okay. Um, I got to be the quote unquote director. But of course, like as I tell people, if your teen or child wants to do that, you as a parent, you're facilitating, they can direct. And then like my mom and I, we grew to be a team, which I
mm,
just loved. Um, and we to this day we work really well as a team, and I think it's because of all the things that we did together. Not to say it wasn't messy, because like sometimes it got really messy, but we worked through the good and the bad together, and that was fantastic. So we put on that show and it was very like community oriented. I like my dad and I wrote a script together. We typed
Oh.
it in and then we put on the show and everyone I think for that show just, wore their own costumes. My family and I, we didn't really like organize the costumes. And we took a break and we thought that was like maybe that was just one time like I got to do a show and yay. But then when I was 15, a mother actually came to me and remembered that like my family had done a show and her daughter had been like a little toddler at that time. And she was hoping like maybe we would do another show now that her daughter was a little older and could participate. Um, and we hadn't really planned on it. And my family, we all sat down. We were like, do we really want to do this? Um, and of course, like I was pretty eager at the idea and I was like, let's do it, let's do it. Um, and so for that one, we had a Facebook group and we threw it out on the Facebook group and we ended up with 16 kids who wanted to participate. And
Mm.
um, I knew that I wanted to write a character for each of those kids. um, I didn't just want to like write a normal script. I wanted to like, give them the opportunity to pick whoever in the world they wanted to be. So I called all of the kids and talked to them before I even started writing the script. And we ended up with, of course, like princesses. That's a pretty common. Lots of princesses, but also a creeper from Minecraft, and then a rapper. So like we had this weird amalgamation of characters, and then I like put it all together and was like, all right, maybe it can be like a mystery, and someone will have time travel, and it was like really weird and wonderful. Um, and put it together and I rented well I guess at the time I was a minor so I didn't rent it but um um or maybe not legally I don't know we rented a stage at a park and so it was outside and it was
Mm.
beautiful and we like made most of the costumes and it was a really special experience and especially because these like 16 kids they didn't really know each other before
Oh.
being part of the show and so, like, seeing them like grow to be friends throughout the production and just like the way kids will build each other up when they're part of like a theatrical production is so, um, it melts my heart every time I think about
Oh.
it. And it's so special. And at that, gosh, for that one, we had someone's um 3-year-old that was really young, and someone's a 13-year-old. So we had like a 10-year span in between all of the kids.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and
Okay.
it was great to see the older kids like totally like stepping in and helping the younger kids. And it was just like really, it kind of felt like building out a family. And that was just so special.
No.
And once again, I thought that was the only time we were going to do it. But
Oh.
then a whole bunch of parents approached me as I was 16 at the time. Um, and they said, "Well, we really loved what you did for our kids. Can we pay you to like teach a class in this fall? Like, can you do this again?" And I
Mm.
thought that was so special. And when I look back on it, I am even kind of more like my mind is blown because I mean, at 16 years old, I had people approaching me and asking, "Can like we pay you to do this?"
Right?
Um,
Exactly.
that was I don't think I really thought much of it at the time. I was like, yeah, of course. And looking back and talking to so many people now in like my adult life, it's like, oh, other 16-year-olds weren't doing that. That was it's not necessarily common. Um, so yes, we did that. And again, we just opened up our home and had the rehearsals here. And I had like an entire curriculum that I wrote for that and then like helped the kids write their own scripts. And then that was the time I found the college theater and I was like, "Oh, we're going to rent out this stage. The kids are going to love it. It's going to be fantastic." Um and then after that, we did two more shows for the next 2 years at that same location. And for our final show, I guess that's kind of maybe one of my favorite shows. I knew it was going to be my final show because I was loving running this theater program so much. And it really just sort of took over my high school years when I wasn't like rehearsing with kids. I was just writing scripts in my head of like, oh, maybe this will work. Okay, maybe this will work. Let me see. And for the last two shows, we actually stopped putting it out on any groups because it was getting so popular. And we really didn't want that many more kids in it because like we couldn't really costume that many kids. Like we couldn't let it grow. I was still a minor. We weren't gonna like make it into like a full-blown like nonprofit program.
Yeah.
So like we kind of had to like keep it sort of hush hush because people were just
Wanting to be a
word was
part.
yeah, they wanted to be a part and that was just awesome. And so for the final show, I knew it was going to be the last one because I was like, okay, next year I'm going to do college. I know it. And so I just like let my creativity run wild. And that one was Pirates and Parrots of Pineapple Isle. It was super whimsical and wild. And we had like all these talking animals and like sword fights with pirates and islanders and well, lots of pineapples as well. And it just all revolves around like this mythical island and the chaos and like kind of the creativity that like blossoms from like this one young islander and he's like I'm going to stand up to these pirates who always come and steal our pineapples and like his hero's journey through that so much fun. And at that point, I kind of knew the kids that I was working with too. We had a few new kids, but I was like, okay, I think I know who I'm writing for. And so I wrote these scripts kind of knowing, all right, who can handle what, who can do this, um, who is really just going to want to ham it up, who can I like trust to be a mentor for like younger kids, and just sort of put it all together. So I really am passionate about like that script in particularly because it's written not just to be a good story, but to make sure that everyone finds their way around stage in a really easy manner. Because at that point, I'd gotten pretty good at being like, all right, my cues to get kids on stage have to be really easy. They have to be like, call the kid out. It has to be like written into the line, alligator, where is the alligator? And then, okay, oh wait, the alligator comes out. Um, and just making it as easy as possible so that they can like kind of relax and just have fun in the experience, have fun being their character. Um, that one we ended up with 18 kids. That was the most I wanted to work with. So that was how many we had. And again, we some of them were strangers when they started. And it was so fun to see them just become friends and build these like relationships. Um, wanted to say more about this and I had a few notes. Okay, yeah. Um
Oh,
so
this is amazing.
yeah, no, I was so passionate about this show, all of the shows, but this show in particularly. Um I my shows often use a narrator. I realized that a narrator was something that I really wanted um to focus on because if you have one kid who has like responsibility, who you can really trust in your group, and then that kid just tells the story and then moves everyone around the stage. My narrator actually just he went and he like would like move physically touch the kids and like put them in position for some of the scenes because I was like, okay, this is going to make it easy for the kids to participate. Um and so another thing about like there's professional theater and there's kids theater and I got really passionate about like kids theater because I think it's more of like a learning tool. I kind of found that after being in some shows I saw kids like really gain confidence um and
Nice.
I thought that was just so special because it is like a form of public speaking, but it's sort of like
Yes.
a sneaky form of public speaking because they can be playing and they can be like creating and they're not thinking about like, oh, I'm giving a speech now. They're thinking like, oh, I'm a character and I'm just like
Mhm.
doing the thing with all the other kids. But at the same time, I'm learning to speak clearly and I'm learning to project and I'm learning all of these just tools that are going to help with public speaking in the future. And so that's why I got like really, really passionate about it because a lot of these kids were really like shy, quiet kids who had never done this before.
Aw.
Um, and so like a lot of times like on week one, I'd have like a lot of mumblers. I would not be able to hear people. They'd be like cowering in the corner. And I just sort of like, keep kind of tapping at the door and being like, hey, maybe like just open up a little bit and just change the position of your body and do this and do this. And then at the end, at week 8, like, there we go. We have kids who are doing things that you would never have thought they could do on week one.
Oh,
And it was so special, and I had, like, so many parents coming up to me and grandparents and being like, "I can't believe Lily did that," or "So and so did that. I've never seen, like, Shiloh act that way before. This is incredible. Like, wow, you've really pushed these kids to, like, a new level," and it does push you outside of your confident or your comfort zone, and I think that when you push just, like, a little bit outside your comfort zone, doing theatrical performances like this, you have a potential to gain a lot of confidence. And that
yeah.
was something that I really loved facilitating. I wasn't in any of the shows except the very first one when I was 12.
Oh,
Ever since then, like I took a back seat and was like, okay, I know that I need to just like be the director and be backstage making all the magic happen. So it really
yeah.
was like for these kids and well, they learned a lot, so did I. Um, so I guess I'm an advocate for bringing programs like this into your world. If you're homeschooling through high school, they don't have to be like theatrical productions, but like letting your teen kind of dive really deep into whatever like passion like they may have, especially if it involves the community, because I think that teaches so many real world skills that teens are not necessarily even getting in high school, but really need in college and the real world and job settings. I was making so many different phone calls to like I rented in our final one, I was over 18, so I could actually like sign on the dotted line and rent that
Mm.
room in the college, which is really important because the next year I went to that college and joined
Aw.
this student success team and was part of like making like events happen for students on campus. Um, and I was boom back into like a school system or in a school system for the first time from my experience. And they wouldn't let me rent any of the rooms in the college because I was like a college student. I was a kid. They had to like you had to have an adult sign on it. And
Oh, wow.
it was so crazy to me that I was like, "Oh, wow." In high school, I had so much freedom when I was homeschooling that I could legally sign and rent this room in this college. But when I turn around and become a student in the system
As an adult.
as an adult, I cannot even book a room for
That's pretty
a
wild.
college event. So it gave me so much more responsibility than most traditional schools give. Um, I think that I learned a lot about resolving conflicts because a lot of conflicts did come up with parents, with kids. A lot about budgeting as well because they were paying me, but I mean it was by donation, and a lot of times it was like, all right, we have X amount, we're gonna go to Goodwill and we're gonna see like, can we get like fabric that I can, maybe we can buy some bed sheets and then I can cut up the bed sheets
Mhm.
and I'll sew this. Or like maybe if X amount comes in, we'll be able to um what did I really, really want? I wanted like this tulle fabric to make a parrot costume. And like I was waiting to see if like one person was going to pay because some people didn't actually donate or pay because it wasn't like a true program. So we couldn't like legally enforce that it was you had to pay us.
Yeah.
So sometimes we were like waiting to see, will people pay us or not? And then if they do, like if X amount pays, then I can do this for the show. And if they don't, then I have to be really creative. So like budgeting was something that was definitely learned during that process.
Nice. A unique way in learning it also. But just the
Yes.
creativity, the critical thinking that has to take place, the level of patience you had to have and grow into working with that many kids, especially with that age range. Like, girl, that is a lot, and you did it, and so early on. What developed your passion for script writing and just directing in general? How did that come about? Because you said from 8 you were asking to do things, and it wasn't until 12 that your parents were like, okay, girl, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's not really in my family. In fact, it was really a risk that my mom took to like team up with me and let me do this because she hates public speaking. She's
Oh,
really quiet. She's shy. She's also an artist, but she just likes to like make her art and just like let it go out in the world. And when she started directing with me, I'd be like, "Mom, I need you to come on stage." And she was like, "Okay, I'm here." So it stretched both of us in lots of
oh,
different ways.
nice.
I think that the reason I have such a passion for it is, gosh, I have really thought about this. It's hard to know. I've had a passion for so long, and I've just been able to keep like building on it. Um, like I didn't know I had a passion for children's theater when I was 8, right? But I knew that I
Right,
liked being on stage and I liked like creating art through like the theatrical way. I knew that. Um, and I've always liked to kind of facilitate and like help other people shine. It's kind of
right.
it's a weird calling, but I do love like helping other people like kind of realize their potential. And there's nothing that makes my heart like swell more than like when I'm working with like those kids on stage and then all of a sudden they realize that they get it. Like, and you know, I'm sure, like when you see in a child's mind that like they light up, their eyes like light up and
Mm-hmm.
suddenly they've got it. Um, there's something so satisfying about that. And I think it's that satisfaction that really just drives my passion for it and being able to see that. And it's almost like they figure it out and then they like skip off into the sunset until there's another problem and then they come running back and I'm like, oh no, I don't get it.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
you help
right.
them again and then they're off they go. But you know, it's a process.
Oh, okay. And so what do you currently do? Because you said that you now have these scripts available, all the ones that you have written all thus far.
I
What
do.
program do you have now?
Right. Okay. So like I said earlier, trained in graphic design in college, and then I was working in the graphic design industry. And then I was like, oh wait, so I'm building my own company. My company right now is called Our Venture, and it is really, I think it's going to be like my new endeavor, which is great because I've had so many different endeavors. My
As you
scripts,
should. Yes.
yeah. Um, my scripts that I have on there I've got two of them available right now. I've got Pirates and Parrots of Pineapple Isle, and then The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which was the show that I did right before that, with my homeschool group kids. Those scripts are really, like I said, really polished out. They've got like cues that are easy to understand. They're written super like equally. There are no like true stars in my shows. Everyone has a special moment. And so like reading the script, you'll find like if you're trying to do it for your group, um, everyone gets a moment to shine, which I think is
Nice.
just so special. We don't have these like massive choruses where like no one gets to do anything, but you're kind of on stage. No, everyone gets a moment. Um, I've also written director's guides because I know that not everyone has like this true passion for directing. I've learned so much in my time directing that these guides are just filled with my tips and tricks. Like when you're casting, you want to think about not just height, not just like, ages, but really like, do you have a child that excels in like being the class clown? Like, do you have like a child that's always like goofing off? This is a good character for that child, like pairing that
Oh,
up and pairing
nice. Yes.
personalities. Um, so those scripts are available online. I also am working on some historical curriculum, which I'm going to have available this spring. I'm really passionate about, as I said, history. And so like just throwing some curriculum out there as well. That's coming. It's going to be super fun. And that's going to have a lot of games and like flashcards and memory games, to kind of make history stick and just a fun look at that. Um, that is available at ourventure.co, co. And then I'm also on Instagram at ourventure_IG. And then if anyone wants to just like, I guess, follow along on my own personal endeavors, I am best place to find me is on Instagram at my handle is glamorous granola girl. Um, and I thought that was a good that just sort of encompasses my energy.
Okay.
And then from there, I've just got a link tree to anything that I'm up to. So I'm all
Nice.
over the place.
Nice. No, I appreciate it. This has been really amazing. I love what you're doing. I love what you have done. I have a young lady, my girl's friends in New York, Miss Gracie, and I'm gonna make sure she listens to this too. Gracie's been writing scripts for years. She's 11.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yes, and she always goes on the director, from the perspective of the director. And girl, she even writes contracts, like when she's casting you to
Oh,
be a
wow.
part. Yeah, she doesn't pay any money though. Like she doesn't like it's like 5 cents or something crazy. But either way, she's like, even thinking on that level. And so I just love, like, I'm so excited to be able to share this with her. I'm like, yo, Gracie, you have to listen to Journey, like see what she did at 12. She's turning 12, I think, this month actually.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, right. Like, that's so awesome.
Could
That's
be
why
the
I'm
next generation. This is so exciting.
right, right. Because you've taken what you did at such a young age. Like, and do you realize what you were doing? Like, you were literally building community that homeschool families are looking and striving for all the time. Like, that's a big thing. And you took the
Yeah.
time to build that. You offer that up for them. Like you said, you watch friendships bud, you watch, people grow together and everything and become family. And I love that. Like, this is so
It's so
amazing.
special. It's so special to be a part of it.
Really, really. And then to know like that you are creating a life that will afford you the opportunity to homeschool your future kids who, of
Yes.
course you don't have to have anytime soon, okay? Don't do it. Take your time by all means. Like I had my first at 30 and I said that was still kind of early. Like, oh my gosh. So, but I also, as you did or as you are, I talked about homeschooling my kids early on. Like I was like 21, 22. That's because I was a sub though. And I was just like, oh yeah, no, they can't come here. And so it's just like, oh yeah, no, I'm homeschool my kids, y'all. I'm like, you can ask the secretaries, everybody who I worked at with. I used to say it all the time. I was like, oh yeah, no, my kids can come in here. It's crazy. But so I love that you have taken the time to share this with us. Two things before I let you go.
Oh, yes,
One,
absolutely.
how do you self-care? Because you're a young person. I would love for you to talk about how you take time for you.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Despite everything that you're doing, like that you are doing, okay? So how do you take time to make sure you are replenished and able to continue doing?
That's a really good question. So, um, I actually this like kind of jogs a memory from like back when I was running all these shows and like had like kids, coming in to our home every week and like just was like
Mm,
really in the thick of it. I would really just curate my bedroom at that time. Like that was
mm,
kind of my high school routine. I was like, okay, I have like I kind of loved interior design. I've always been like a design person. So like just having like this really bright, lovely space. And I remember even having like a friend over at that time and she looked at me and she was like, "Oh, I see like how like you retreat from the chaos of your life in here. Like you just have this like
ah,
um just bright, happy space like with plants and just like usually I try and like use like it was mostly done in whites at the time. And then I have like I've always had like pets, so I guess that's another thing, like having time with my pets.
mm.
Bunnies were always my thing. I had these like really fluffy bunnies. Just like hanging out and brushing my bunnies was just so zen for me. Um, that definitely got me through a lot of stressful times because it was lovely to build community, but also could be a little stressful here and there.
Girl, draining, real draining.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, And now I like to have like kind of podcast hour. Like I like to listen to a podcast every evening and I will pick up my sketchbook and I will just draw with the intention like this drawing is not for my business, it's not for my like work, it's absolutely nothing. It's just for me and it's just like I'm in this moment drawing and listening and just unwinding before bed. So that is my self-care right now.
Nice. No, that is awesome. And you got plenty of podcasts to choose from, girl. So I could just imagine with that. So no, that is great. Great self-care. I love that. And three things you would like to share with families. Like, hey, if you don't hear anything, or if you have not heard anything else that I've said, and I've said a lot now, but take these three things with you.
Okay, I'm ready. I prepared for this. I was like,
Oh,
I think. Like I said, I did a podcast hour, so I know. Um, so I think that one, I just want families to take encouragement to please continue homeschooling through high school. People get scared. Take encouragement from me. You know what? Like, you can do it. You can do it. Everything that you're doing right now is enough. If you want to do more, that will be enough. Like, you can do this. Please take some encouragement. You've got this. Um, two, okay. Be willing to let your child and then especially let your teen um, push push you to like new comfort zones for yourself, push you outside of your comfort zone, let them lead through like if they have a passion, like my mom's passion is not theater, but she let me lead and it was just super helpful for I think our relationship, you know, like parent-child relationships, those things, they're like forever. And so if we can like really focus on like being a team and during high school, like yes, there are some bad days, but there are some good days. And if you can work through those bad days, like how many good days are there to come like in the rest of your life? And then three, I guess like theater can be a great way to bring confidence and community to your homeschool group. And adding it to your co-op is something that I highly, highly recommend because just that, you know, you can build confidence in your kids. You can build community through not just like the kids, but you can build community with other parents. Maybe you're all sewing costumes together. Maybe you're helping out.
right.
Maybe you don't have just one child like run the theater program. Maybe it's like three families come together and like you all work together on it. That would be awesome. And then you can put that on for everybody. There's so many different ways to build community. This is just one of them, but it's one that I highly recommend.
Nice. No, I think it's a great way because I love how you put in there that it's a form of public speaking. And that's a daunting task for a lot of people to get comfortable with speaking in front of others. So doing it performance wise, I like that you know you put that, hey, like this is public speaking. This definitely builds confidence because if you could perform like that's a lot. It's
Exactly.
a lot. So and then remembering
Right.
like words and oh my gosh, it's a lot. It's a lot. But I love that. I've loved everything that you shared. I really have. So I appreciate that. And it's like offering up a different creative way or a different creative outlet for homeschool communities to tap into. Because you don't think about that. Putting on a play together. Yes, co-ops check
Yeah.
in with Journey. Like she got plays already written, ready to go.
Yes. It's
So
easier than writing your own. I promise you that. It's so much easier.
exactly. Yes. Oh my goodness. Just to think of the detail, like just remembering scripts that I read or even plays from my time because I taught English. So I've read several plays. But it's a lot to think about as far as
Hmm.
putting things in. So you've done the hard work. And so parents can check out, hey, look at this, read this, and adapt it to your group. So thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for that. And parents, like, just keep on adding, keep on doing different things. Check it out. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. But hey, it's worth the try, I feel, especially since it builds community. So, and that's something that we're all seeking always, as you should.
Yes.
Because this is not a
Yes.
journey to do alone, as I remind all the time. You do not have to do this alone. It is definitely better together. So, you know, build it, build it, and they will come.
They will. They
Yeah.
will. They'll come. There'll be so many. You won't know what
I'm
to
about to
do.
say Journey said she had to cut them off. Okay.
Yes.
She had to keep production on the low. Okay. So understand that people are definitely seeking the same thing that you are seeking. So always remember homeschool your kids.